Hey Ringmasters, this is Steven with RingProfit. We have Derek and Brent on the line. And today we're going to be talking about the hard close versus the soft close. What's the difference? If you're new to sales, and if you've never done it before, then you're going to watch a lot of clips online. You're going to watch a lot of videos. You're going to read a lot of stuff from the pros. And they are right for what they sell. You got a hard close. You always got to be thinking about the close. You go with the intention that you want to close. But a lot of times it's like those types of products, they're selling $4,000, $10,000, $50,000 a year products where you have to go through the whole sales process on the phone. You got to personalize, you got to build trust. And in pay-per-call marketing, it's completely different. I'll tell you guys from my background working in sales for about 8 months. I finished university. I had a business degree, a very good business degree, but where I live, because I couldn't speak French, I had to find an English job, and that seemed to be one of the lower tier jobs. But little did I know it was invaluable. The skills that you learn, it builds character. If you could sell something on the phone, it's so valuable for anything that you do in life. If you could sell yourself, it speaks volumes. So doing that for 8 months, I had to sell SEO. It was like a directory. And the funny thing, I'm smiling because it was so hard. It was like ridiculously hard, especially if you're new. I was completely new to it. And so they teach you the whole thing, and you have to hard close. You got to, anything that you do, you got to hard close, which means just asking for the business or getting the business. But I mean, like going through getting a credit card and all that stuff, it's quite hard because, you know, you have to build the trust. And I say it's hard for the new guys. As somebody who's more experienced, it's not so hard because you're used to it. The more calls you do, the frequency of the calls, you get used to it. Is just natural. You just ask for the credit card, you ask for the business and all that stuff, you close the deal. In pay-per-call marketing though, however, it's far easier. That's a big relief to a lot of you guys coming from the affiliate space. If you're stuck behind your computer all day, all night, you're not used to interacting with people, and you can get scared, you can get nervous. But the beauty about what you do in pay-per-call marketing is you're sending businesses customers, you're sending them leads. Now, if a business flat out says they're not interested, you let it go. You don't have to go, okay, well, you know, if I could show you in 2 minutes how this could grow your business by X amount, and you don't have to do that. When I do paper calls, when I pick up the phone and I call customers, either they want it or they don't. It's a very simple pitch. In fact, I'm gonna even just do a pitch right now. If I could just pull up my, because they alter too. My pitches alter. Okay, so it's not always like, I like to split test.
Well, my pitch is pretty simple. Like, you know, like I'm not a sales guy, so when I would always get nervous right before the phone call. Like I would get really, really nervous where I'd almost like pass out. And it was because like I was anticipating it in my mind that it wasn't going to go well, right? And so and that was because, you know, watching all these YouTube videos and stuff for that same hard close. But it wasn't until I like started to, because I believed in the product, right? When you're generating quality leads for a small business, that's the lifeblood of their business. So obviously, if you can provide that, it's a valuable service. So it wasn't until I started just going on the soft close, because the other thing is at the time I wasn't sure of my own abilities as far as actually providing the results. So the other thing that I felt nervous about was selling the leads prior to knowing if I could really generate the quality. So what I did without really knowing it is saying, hey, I'm going to send you free leads to prove that they work. And I was telling them to prove to them that it was working, but really it was to prove to myself that it was working. And they were much more acceptable to, hey, I got some customers that are calling me up. I'm going to go ahead and send them your way. Is that cool? If everything works out, then we can work out a deal from there. It's much easier because you're providing the value first. It's not some scammy thing where you're trying to sell them, you know, like some SEO package or something that they've heard millions and millions of times if you provide the results or not. With this, you're providing the results and you're proving it to them before you even move forward in your business relationship, as in having them pay you.
Yeah, so it comes back to the quality. Like you mentioned something which is very important in any sales. You have to be confident about the product that you're selling, the service that you're selling. If you don't believe in it, they won't believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, it's going to come out through the way you speak, the way you stumble on words. you know, when they have a rebuttal or an objection, you can't answer it. It all comes back to your confidence in the product. And with pay-per-call, like you mentioned, Brent, if you are able to provide good quality leads to these customers, that's what you're looking for. You want to send them good leads. You want that business for the long term. Once I had that data, so let's say, for example, we're doing the California follow along, which is, you know, us providing, for those of you who are watching this and don't know what that is, in our forum, we have a section called a follow along. And that's for any ringmaster to post his campaigns, A to Z, what he's doing, the niche he's starting in, the city, targeting, keywords, traffic, calling up customers from A to Z. So we have in the follow along, basically, we list, or I list, Brent lists, Derek lists, Paul lists, all the things that we're doing. And see, I lost my train of thought here because I'm all over the place. I basically list out how I'm calling, you know, and so you'll see basically, you know, the businesses that I call, how long it takes to call. It doesn't take that much to call. You don't need so many customers to land in order to send them clients. You just need a couple of clients, you know, a couple of businesses. You send them customers. It's long term. We talk about the long term because I don't want to hard close these guys. Grab their credit card if they're not too sure, and then they're not happy. They have you know, a buyer's remorse. You don't want that. So, you know, it comes down to the quality of the calls that you're sending, and when you do that, you get the business for the long term. But let me just hop back. Sorry,
you said you're gonna give us a script of your sales pitch. So let's hear how soft it is or how easy it is.
Yeah, it's extremely soft because, like I said, when you call these businesses, either they take it or they don't. I've tried a whole bunch of different scripts. I use my background from the 8 months I was doing at this company, and I realized I overcomplicated things. You can personalize with somebody just by the way you talk. So I'll do the pitch right now, and I'll read it out in a couple of ways. Okay, so here's the first way, and I'll do it slow just so you guys can hear. Hi, my name is Steven. I'm with Company X. We service X area, and I'm just giving you a call to see if you'd be interested in qualified X leads in X and the surrounding area. So I'm saying X because I don't want to say, you know, the area or whatever, but to give you guys an example, I read that slow. Here's another way of reading it. Hi, my name is Steven. I'm with X. We service X, and I'm just giving you a call to see if you're qualified. You say I screwed up. When you speak too fast, and especially if you've done this for a very long time and then you get out of the game for like a couple of months, you'll get back into old habits. When you speak really fast, you're going to lose the client. Even if it's a soft close, they won't know what the hell is going on. They have to know why you're there. You know, they have to know who you are, and you got to give pauses. You got to allow them time to take the bait, so to speak. You got to allow them time to speak and ask a question. When they ask a question, that's all I want. That's all I want. Okay, great. Where do you service? You know, what does your company do exactly? Even if I write it slow, if they ask me a question, for me, that's a buy-in, right? So as you can see, this is a very simple pitch. It's straight to the point in PPC. So I'm going to read it again. Hi, my name is Steven. I'm with Company X. We service X, and I'm giving you a call to see if you're interested in qualified X leads in the X area. So X you can replace with whatever area you're doing it in and whatever company you call yourself. But you can see I'm reading it. My tone goes up, my tone goes down. It's to the fact. And so a lot of people screw that up because they get nervous. And what they don't realize is if you're new to this, guys, understand that it's not hard. Even if you screw up the pitch, you're sending somebody qualified leads. Okay. When you say a pitch, you shut up afterwards. You let them talk. If they didn't hear you, say it again. And you always got to pause after your initial intro. For me, this is an extreme sort of like shotgun approach. I say everything I want in my sentence because either they take it or they don't. And the guys that don't take it, I don't care because the next guy says, yeah, I'm interested. All right, well, tell me more. Like, how do we go about this? And another thing to keep in mind too is, you know, even though this is like a very easy pitch and you can close clients, you want to make sure that they understand what's going on also. So I'll repeat it. Once we say they're on board, I say, okay, perfect. So John, where do you service? John, what type of work are you looking for? You know, John, we're going to charge $60 per call. And then I shut up. Whenever I give a statement like that, I shut up and I wait for him to say something. Either he says yes or he gives an excuse. We're going to get more into detail on that kind of stuff. But the reason why we want to bring up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that you're talking about the pitch and all, and that this is what the whole topic of the discussion is: hard sales versus soft sales, right? And what you just said was you're pitching to a client that knows what he wants, and he needs leads. And hard sales, to me, of course, was always about, you're pitching to an indecisive customer, right? And you're trying to tackle the short term. So you're trying to get a contract for the short term. You're not thinking long term. And when you really have to rebuttal a customer or try to really go far and convince them to buy your product or service, that's hard sales to me. And soft sales is never in that approach. You're never trying to convince the person that you need this right away, because then, there's a lot of negatives that come from that. You don't know if you're going to get chargebacks. You don't know if you're going to get a call back after complaining that, you're pressuring them too much. And with PPC, it's all about soft sales. So like you heard Steven say, he just said a very straightforward pitch, and the client takes it or leaves it. There's no convincing. And most of the time, 99% of the time, they're going to want your lead because they need more business.
So one thing. So I'm not a sales guy. So when I was first having to get, my clients, it was very nerving to me to be, I'm a computer guy, right? So going from that computer, that doesn't kind of push back right away. Like if something happens, you know what to do, to having a conversation with a live human, that, like I said, that was very nerving. So one thing that I realized though, was the very first thing I asked them is, first I do my research. So I already know about their niche. I already know about their industry. So I already know what their high paying jobs are and what their low paying jobs are. So what I would do is I would call them up and I'd say, hey, do you currently do, whatever a high paying job is? So like what we're doing right now is electricians. We'll say like, are you currently interested in, panel installation, or do you do panel installation? And when they say yes, then you say, awesome. Are you currently available for work? And then they say yes again, because you haven't come out and act like a sales guy yet. So far, they may still think you're a customer, right? Then once they've agreed that yes, they need this service, yes, they do need customers, now you ask them, awesome, because I own a property. I own, send them some website and say, I'm currently getting phone calls in the whatever area they're in. Are you interested in them? I need to send them somewhere because they're just going to waste. They're going to most likely say yes. Now, if they turn around and say, oh, I don't need customers, or I'm already booked up, then you could kind of switch the script and say, oh, well, you just told me that, yes, you are available for work. So do you need customers or you don't? And then they don't really have a pushback because you just heard them say, yes, I need customers, or yes, I'm available for work. So they can't come back and say, no, I'm not accepting new work, because they wouldn't have told you that if they thought you were a customer right then and there. So that has been something that has worked great for my lack of sales, and just getting them that extra push to finally say, okay, yeah, you're right. I do need customers. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with these free calls for now, and then move forward from there. You're muted, Steven.
For the guys that are watching this, Brent just gave an example, but it's not like you do it in a combative way. It's like, oh, well, I thought you said you need customers. Like, how come you have a website up? Like, you never want to do it combative. It's like, oh, okay, great. No, I just thought you wanted customers, John. So like, I'm just letting you know I can send you qualified leads. Like, you always got to keep your tone in a positive way. Like, oh, okay, cool, no problem. Like, you ask, like, any objection, you respond with a question. Like, oh, okay, great. No problem, John. Well, it's because I thought you were looking for customers. That could be a question in the way you state it, right? In your tone. So just keep that in mind. Like, you don't ever want to butt heads with these people, because, at the end of the day, they're confused. Maybe their business is suffering. Maybe they have too much work. And all this that we're saying right now, guys, like any sales professional or any sales pro or a guy who just kills it, he'll watch this and he'll have his own opinion. There is no right or wrong answer, especially when it comes to PPC. We've done our tests and trials. It's a very simple thing. Either they take it or you don't, because you have to look back at what you provide. You don't need 10,000 clients in a month for a specific area. It's not going to work like that. It's all around the country or any country. You know, you just need a few in for example, a city, a small area or a suburb in the city that they can provide work for these customers calling in. You just need 2 or 3 clients. That's it. You don't want to get more than that, because then afterwards, how are you going to send, you know, sometimes you'll get like 3 calls a day. Sometimes you'll get 1 call every 2 weeks. Like, you know, it depends on the population, the area, and so forth, and the niche.
I wanted to just throw it in there. Like you're selling, you're giving something that businesses need. And when the person on the other side needs something, that's the easiest sell. And one of the easiest jobs I've ever had was doing recruiting, where I'm calling candidates, I'm finding them on the internet, and I'm offering them a job. And it was the easiest for me because I'm not a salesperson like Steven. I've never done any hard sales. So pretty much it's like you're calling someone and you know they're expecting your call and you know they need what you're offering. It's the easiest thing. So if you're scared to jump into PPC because you're like, I'm never going to make it because I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson also. Brent's not a salesperson also. You can look at Steven and get, you know, motivation from him and what he says, but we're not doing hard sales. And I've read in, you know, the RingProfit, some people are posting, you know, like, hey, check out this guy or that guy. And a lot of these sales gurus are like tackling the corporate sales world, where you gotta really get in there. It's a grinding environment. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and you just have to really put yourself out there. And it's not like that with PPC. So it's just get your confidence by knowing what your client needs and that they need you to help grow their business.
Yeah, like, look, you know, you said that these guys need the business, but a lot of times they don't know that they need the business. They don't know that what you're giving them or selling them or whatever service, they don't know that they need that, right? So it's your job as somebody who's doing a sales call to make them realize that. And a lot of times it's like, you know, like you said, some of these guru sales guys, everything they do is right. And everything that we do is right. It's all subjective to you. The only way you're going to learn sales is to actually do it. You could, and I've said this on another webinar. I'm like, you can meditate, you could calm yourself, take pills, you could, you know, drink alcohol. Like you could, I don't know, read books. You could get motivated by watching videos online for sure to kick you in the ass to start calling. But at the end of the day, it's the frequency of calls, the number of calls. You got to go through hundreds of calls to get the flow of it. To get it's because it's in the way you speak. Like, people will buy you, they won't necessarily buy the product. The product could help their business for forever and they just won't even take it. So it's how you approach it. But just to make a distinction here, a lot of people don't know that they need it. And that's what sales is about. It's about you calling them to make them realize that. In PPC now, though, from my experience doing this, it's a very shotgun approach. They know what leads are, especially if you speak slow and they understand what you're saying. Because again, when I'm using stuff like this, you know, or I'm using a Platronics like a $200 headset or just my cell phone, there's going to be a delay in the talking, especially if you're using VoIP, or if I'm calling across the country, or if Brent's in California and he's calling Vancouver in Canada. It's like there's going to be a little bit of delay in your speaking. So you need to speak slow and you need to listen to the client. You're going to hear everything in his voice. Okay. He's going to say, for example, in PPC, if the guy's not interested, say, hey, no problem. You know what? It's okay. I could send you a couple of leads. If you like him, we can discuss then. And that's sort of like the hook. It's like, either they'll be like, oh, okay, you know what? All right, fine. You want to do that? Great. I'm like, great. So I'll do that. Afterwards, we can discuss. If it's good stuff, we'll discuss how much you could pay for that. Another thing.
I just wanted to jump in here, and you just, like, before we get off topic with that, you mentioned about electronics, right? The devices you use. And for example, if I'm going to be making calls, I'm not going to be using my headset because it's not the most optimal. But I know where I used to work, we never used VoIP phones because there was always a delay when you're calling your clients, right? Or you're calling potential customers. So we actually used the landline, even though we had to pay more for it per month. You knew the conversations were going to be crisp. There wasn't going to be any lag, and that the potential customer is going to hear everything you say without any delay. And that's important because communication has to be 100% there. So don't think you can pick up a VoIP phone or just a cheap microphone and do calls. You have to really think about the quality behind the call and the communication with the devices.
I agree and disagree, because remember, now people are going to say that's an excuse. They're going to say, oh, well, I got an iPhone only. That's it. I can't make calls. I got to pay $500 for a headset. No, you don't. I made calls off this. It's the worst headset ever. And I closed 2 deals like yesterday or something. You don't need anything. Yes, to get your numbers up for people to hear you and to make it easier, of course, it's nice to use a headset, but you don't. You can call on the phone. Yeah,
that's one thing I want to mention is, like, I've done calls where like my cell phone signal's cutting out and stuff. These guys, a lot of times, like, depending on the niche, they're going to be on a roof or they're going to be doing something that they're on a cell phone as well. So like that's actually a human connection right there. That's a pain point that they have, you know, oh yeah, my cell phone's shit. You know, the signal keeps cutting out, as opposed to a call center. You know, they already have all that stuff set up where it's going to be perfect because they're doing calls. Well, if your stuff cuts out and you mention that you're on a cell phone, then obviously that means that you're more human. You're not in some call center just, you know, grinding it out, trying to get these guys to buy leads. So yeah,
I'll purposely fumble all my words. Like, I'll purposely stumble. Like, I'll say the pitch and I'll be like, oh, geez, yeah, no, you know what? You're right, John. Or like, oh, geez, yeah, no, I didn't think about that. Like, you gotta kind of stick to the script. That's why I have the script here. I always have it in front of me just to read it. Or I could just walk and talk and say the intro. But the more human it is, like Brent mentioned, you could be on your phone. It's okay if it cuts out. It's all right. All I'm just saying is that, like, you know, Derek's point about the high quality stuff. Yeah, that's why if you have the money, you can get a higher quality equipment. You go to, you know, what do we use, Derek? Ring Central?
Yeah, but even that, what I was trying to say is, like, with the VoIP phones, it's the lag, right? So when they're like, hello, and you're like, hey, hi, how's it going? And then they're like, hello, someone there. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm here. And it kind of lags. That's the communication that gets interrupted, right? So it's just
yeah, it gets interrupted, but that's something you can work around with, because any phone that you're going to pick up will have lag, unless I'm calling a guy. Like, I'm in Montreal, I call the guy down the street with my cell phone, it'll be perfect, but there'll still be a little bit of delay. You know, so I don't want guys to look at excuses and say, oh, well, I need a super phone from the future to call these guys. No, you know, but I personally use the higher quality stuff because I want to get a little inch. I want it to be a little bit more clearer for the guys to hear. I want it easier for me. I have the headset. I could stand up. It has no long. This is not here. It's at another location. But I could walk around even far and walk back, because I know motion creates emotion. It gets me into it. You know, and so, I mean, again, this is all subjective. Everyone will have their opinion on sales. The biggest thing to do is just do it. Just, you know, grab your, you know what, and just do it. Because if you don't, if you delay, I even have days, because there was sometime in the past, I didn't do phone sales. I didn't pick up the phone. So yeah, I got scared a little bit. You get anxious. I mean, you know, I haven't done, millions and millions and millions of calls. I've done thousands, like maybe 60,000 calls, you know, but that was at a certain pass. And now with PPC, I don't need to do that volume. So here's the
thing I want to ask, because yesterday you were doing calls, right? And you even mentioned there was a point where you had trouble like motivating yourself to get on the call, right? And that was one part that was bringing you back. So I mean, for guys that don't have that motivation to get on the call, or they're staring at their phone and they're just not even picking it up to make that call, what do you do in that situation? Like, how do you get out of that and get into the right mindset for calling and making calls?
Great question. I mean, we are talking about hard sales and soft sales, but I'll answer that. Yeah, yesterday, it's a perfect example. We're keeping this real, guys. There's nothing we're gonna have. I'm not gonna try to sound like Mr. Macho guy here, pick up the phone and could close anybody. You know, I have great experience. I'm not the top tier sales guy in the world. There's several guys that are better than me, but it's just to give you guys an example that Derek has no sales experience. Brett has a little bit. I've got a lot. It doesn't matter. PPC, you can close them. And, you know, that was one motivating factor. I knew it's easy to do this, so I just got on the phone. If it's a whole, like if I'm selling $40,000 or life insurance and stuff, it's a little harder. Like, it's hard to get motivated. I work for myself. I work with you guys. And I just have this switch in my brain that I'm like, you know what, just pick up the phone and do it. Like, no matter how many excuses come into my mind, my body will go and pick up the phone and call. Like, I know, let's just let my body do it. Override the mind, because the mind will come up with so many excuses. Oh, he's going to say F off. What if he says it's like, who cares? Block that out. As soon as I start dialing, I'm on. Like it's
hey, I want to mention something right there because like, you know, I kept mentioning that I had the fear to even do it. And I noticed that like if I just put it off even like a minute, then all of a sudden it was starting to snowball like that fear, and then I wouldn't do it. I started to just look up the phone number. Like if I knew that I was going to call someone, I would just look at the phone number, I would dial it, and I would click it, as in start the call. And once I started the call, yeah, that fear would build up a little bit, but it's already ringing. I'm already over that main, you know, hump that was setting me back before, like that final number and finally connecting the line. And it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like if the worst thing that could happen is they tell you no. And the more that you do it, the more easy it will become. Like, you know, as Stephen mentioned, I'm not no sales expert, but that's what we're trying to also portray is you, if you're watching this video, you're likely not a sales expert either, but you can still get sales in this because it's more of a, you know, like you're not some call center guy that's getting paid per sale, right? You're doing it for yourself. All you need is a few clients a month. And if you're, you know, slowly introducing it to them, that'll go a lot long, like that longer term relationship that, you know, once you've proven yourself, that'll go a longer way than hard closing them. And then there's a bit of regret from them or whatever.
Yeah. And it's not where, you know, because I have to watch what I say here. It's not like these guys, you know, they have no money on their credit card, it's maxed out, and you're still trying to close them, and that's your job as a sales guy to close them, even if they don't have money. Like it's not none of that. You're sending them leads, you're sending them business. They're making money off you. You're making money off them. The point here is you get 2 customers. You get a few in one city, you get a few in another city. Next thing you know, you have 50 customers. Next thing you know, you have 1,000 customers. It's golden. Just think about that long-term relationship. Everyone's happy. You're doing your job. They're fulfilling jobs. There'll be some mishap in between. You know, some businesses will miss calls. Some businesses might not even deliver a good job. But at the end of the day, it will work out to your numbers, and you will scale that way. So don't think of the short term. Don't think of like you need to, you know, hard close and this and that. Do a soft close. Be happy. They'll be happy. Like, I mean, you can even get on a call and just be full energetic. Like, hey, John, like, yeah, this is Stephen with electric something, whatever. I'm calling you, and like you just have that energy. Or you could just be really calm and cool about it. And yeah, cool, perfect, excellent. Yeah, I felt the same way. No, I know exactly what you mean. Like you could do, it comes down to your style. You don't want to fake being an, you know, a really excited guy. Like, hey, yeah, man, oh, great. Like you don't want to do that. You don't want to overdo it. There's a fine line. So the good news for everybody that's doing PPC or who's getting it, especially if you're from the affiliate channel, don't be scared of it because it's far easier than you think. I will even go and say that if you're in a populated area, you can close between, you know, if you call 10 numbers, I'll say 10, because for me it's like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 yesterday. But for you guys, think of like 1 in 10, you know, of people who actually answer the call. All you got to just say is a simple pitch like I just explained earlier on, and shut up, let them say yes or no. They say no, no problem, because there's 100 other businesses that one of them will say yes. You just need a couple. Think about that. So I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on this, because again, we could go into fear, rejection, rebuttals, but those are all, this will be like a 10-hour call, you know, and.
No, I think we made our point clear. If you look at me and even Brent, although he has a little bit more experience than me, if we can do it, you can do it too. It's not the hardest thing in the world with PPC. Everything's laid out to you in the forums. If you read a lot of the threads, the follow along, you're going to see you have our support, and we're all in this together. So you're going to see that it's going to come easier as you do it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is like don't let this one thing that's relatively easy to gain as a skill hold you back from everything else. Because like as I know these guys have as well, there's a lot of guys coming in to the forum and like, oh, I'm going the affiliate route because I'm too scared to do calls, or I don't have the confidence in getting a client, so I'm going to go the affiliate route. And that's not the right way to go about it. If, you know, like all you need is one client and you could be easily doing really well, and then it just snowballs from there. So I think that's, you know, I think we pretty much summed it up for you. Is it's not that difficult. You don't need to hard sell. Just go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I hope you guys like the video. There's a lot of content. We cover a lot of this stuff, the traffic side, especially the traffic side, because these guys are pros at it. If these guys weren't there, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I could pick up the phone and have the confidence to call them because of the traffic side. So we list all those resources in RingProfit for them. If you guys like this, subscribe, ask questions, and we'll see them next time.